take a good look. However cleverly you sneak up on a mirror, your reflection always looks you straight in the eye. I got look out!
1987 was packed with major releases, blockbuster sequels, and some of the biggest stars in Hollywood. While those movies dominated the conversation, another group of films quietly occupied the space just outside the spotlight. Some had unusual premises, some mixed genres in ways that were difficult to market. Others simply arrived during an extremely crowded year. Looking back now, these are the kinds of movies that help paint a fuller picture of what 1987 actually looked like beyond the biggest hits.
Hey, look, I'm sure we could work something out. I mean, why don't we all just sit down and party a little bit? What the heck?
These are a few overlooked films from 1987 that still stand out decades later.
Yes, I do!
Before becoming one of Hollywood's most recognizable actors, Kevin Bacon starred in Whitewater Summer, a survival drama set deep in the wilderness. The story follows a group of city teenagers sent on an outdoor expedition led by an experienced but demanding guide named Vic.
Hey, wait a second! Hey, I caught those!
No, you didn't. Not the right way, you didn't.
Oh, you mean your way?
No! I mean the right way. You know, you're a smart kid, Alan, but you really let me down this time. You let yourself down.
Sean Astin plays Alan, one of the boys who constantly challenges Vic's authority and questions his methods. At first, the movie feels like a coming-of-age adventure. But as conditions worsen and tensions rise, it slowly transforms into a survival story where experience and leadership become matters of life and death.
This is not acceptable behavior. Is that clear?
One reason the movie remains interesting today is how different it feels from many youth-oriented films of the period. There are no magical solutions or easy victories. The wilderness itself becomes the main obstacle, forcing the characters to mature quickly. It also offered an early glimpse of both Kevin Bacon and Sean Astin before they became household names. Few movies have captured the feeling of a terrible school day spiraling completely out of control quite like 3 O'Clock High. The setup is simple. Jerry Mitchell
Hi, Jerry.
accidentally angers the school's intimidating new student, Buddy Revell, and suddenly finds himself scheduled for a fight after school. From there, the entire movie becomes a countdown.
I'm gonna do shit to him. Asshole.
Every failed attempt to avoid the confrontation only creates bigger problems, making Jerry's day progressively worse. Teachers, classmates, security guards, and random accidents all seem determined to make the situation impossible. What gives the film its lasting appeal is its energy. The pacing constantly moves forward, creating a sense of panic that mirrors what Jerry is experiencing. Richard Tyson's performance as Buddy Revell also helped create one of the more memorable high school movie antagonists of the decade. He barely speaks, but his presence hangs over the entire story.
Do you know what, Mitchell? You're the biggest pussy I've ever met in my life. You didn't even try. How does that feel?
At first glance, batteries not included sounds like an unusual combination of ideas. An aging group of tenants are struggling to save their apartment building from redevelopment when tiny flying machines suddenly arrive to help them. Yet somehow, the movie makes it work. Rather than focusing on large-scale science fiction spectacle, the story concentrates on ordinary people facing change and uncertainty. The small alien visitors become part of a larger story about community, friendship, and resilience. Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronin bring warmth to the film, making the apartment residents feel believable and relatable. While the special effects attracted attention at the time, much of the movie's staying power comes from its emotional core. It feels optimistic without becoming overly sentimental, which helped it remain memorable for many viewers.
Batteries not included.
Written by John Hughes, Some Kind of Wonderful explored familiar teenage territory while approaching it from a slightly different angle. The story follows Keith Nelson as he pursues popular student Amanda Jones, unaware that his closest friend Watts has stronger feelings for him than she admits. What separates the movie from many other teen romances is Watts herself. Mary Stuart Masterson's performance became one of the film's most discussed elements because the character feels genuine, confident, and independent.
So this is what you do for a living, huh? I'm sorry, my hand slipped.
Cut it out.
Why don't you mind your own business?
Instead of focusing purely on popularity or social status, the story spends much of its time examining friendship, self-worth, and expectations. The movie was released during an era filled with teen comedies and romantic dramas, yet it managed to establish its own identity through its characters and emotional honesty. Over time, discussions about the film often revolve around Watts, whose popularity arguably grew long after the movie left theaters.
You're asking me out on a date?
These were the lesser-known films from 1987 that show a side of the decade that blockbuster rankings can't fully capture. Some focused on personal stories.
I'm sorry. Put your ass through that motherfucking hoop. What the fuck you think you are?
Hey, man,
I'll stop a mud hole in your ass. You understand that? You know who you fucking with? Do you know who I am?
Sorry, man.
Some experimented with unusual concepts. Others simply found themselves competing against larger releases. Yet all of them remain interesting snapshots of the era. Not because they dominated the year, but because they offered something different from the movies everyone was already talking about.